First time I've spoken to a group of writers, and I'm really nervous. So I made notes. I'm Lexi George. I write paranormal romance for Kensington.
It says it right there.
That's right. That's right. I know who I am. And there's a funny story about my pen name. My middle name is actually Alexandra, so Lexi is actually a derivative of my name. But when I was looking for a last name, how I came up with George is that's what my family calls me.
Wow.
They've always called me George since I was in diapers, and nobody remembers why. All I can say is Southerners are weird. But anyway, here's a few. I've made notes. Here's a few of the things that I've learned in my long 16-year journey to get published. And the first thing is, other people can't tell you how to write. Yeah, there are books on craft, and there are workshops, and they're all helpful, but nobody can tell you how to write. You need to know the rules of good writing before you can toss them aside. But once you have the basics down, the only way to become a writer is to write. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the words. There is no magic formula. When they taught you about how people viewed the world in Columbus's time, they thought it was like a table. It was flat, and if you sailed too far, you would just go off the edge into nothing. Well, that's what I thought of 50 is. And if I didn't get published by 50, it was all over, all over but the crime, done. But I don't recommend it. I'm a pantser with plotter envy. Are you a plotter?
No.
See, I'm not a plotter, and I need to figure out how to be one.
Because when you start writing on proposal, if you're a pantser,
yeah. How do you write a proposal in a book you don't know what's going to happen?
I don't know. I need somebody to tell me.
I'm looking at that right now.
You know what? I was forced to write a synopsis for a book that I only had one chapter on because I entered it into because I'm a contest slut. I'm sorry to say. Which is why I'm a triple Linda Howard back some. I say that again. I never took my own part, and I'm doing it now. Gosh darn it! That's a New Year's resolution. I'm going to be proud. Now they're upset. But then a wonderful writer in the genre, Lynn Ray Harris, who I adore, and who's also a member of this wonderful group, suggested that I just treat it like a proposal and put together the synopsis, which was not written, and do the first 3 chapters. So I thought about it, and I can always come up with a blurb, like that's probably my marketing background, but I couldn't come up with, a synopsis, like with no information other than I've got like these 2 paragraphs about 2 people that I really paralyzed by the fact that I had to make everything perfect because the first chapter was so perfect, and I'm the opposite of you. It's like if I try to go really perfect, I'm like, oh crap, I can't just barf on the page and fix it later. Now what am I going to do? I'm a barf and fix girl. Throw some crap on the wall, rearrange it, do whatever. I'm the exact opposite of you. I'm a pantser crapper. And then I go and I fix
the crap?
Yeah.
The thing is, though, you get further along, though, you don't sell a full book. You sell a synopsis. The process is write the full book, sell the full book.
Didn't happen.
And then after,
I can't speak for others, though.
But that's how everyone starts. Write the full book, sell the full book, and then you get to the point of write a proposal, 3 chapters and synopsis. Sell it on that, and as you go on, it's write a synopsis and sell it, and then it's send your editor a paragraph and sell it. I yearn to reach that point.
Me too.
Well,
I'm still having to do a full book on the new series.
I will find out when I turn in book 4. So
Yeah, well, you start building, street creds with your editor. Going, okay, I know that when she says, I know she can write an entire storyline. I know that the amorphous and stuff happens in the synopsis because it's pretty much what we give them. And stuff happens, and then here's the resolution because that's what we know. We know how it starts, we know how it ends. And if you've proven yourself that and stuff happens isn't the draggy, saggy middle with your editor, then they start saying, okay, I believe that when we hit the end stuff happens that she's got some good stuff and it'll be great.
Yeah. So nobody can tell you how to write, but constructive criticism is necessary. None of us can write in a vacuum, and that was part of my problem that I had all those years that I was writing on my own before I found a writer's group, and then I found RWA, and I found y'all, is that I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anybody, like I said, I didn't have anybody to say, Jean, you've got 2 books here. This is 200,000 words. This is way too long, Lord have mercy, when's this book going to end? I didn't have any of that. And that's why you need a writer's group and a critique partner, and why you enter contests. So you Even Hunting in Dixie, it has sex in it, and I had never written a sex scene, and I did not know, and never would have guessed that it would take me mint chocolate, chip ice cream, and red wine to get through that first sex scene. Why? I'm a grown woman. I have 2 children. Obviously, I've had sex, although my children would argue with you on that. You know. So, but when I started to write that sex scene, I saw the faces of my grandmother Ida, who had 8 children, but until the day she died, she referred to her husband and the father of her 8 children as Dr. Webb. I saw my grammar school librarian, Evelina Godwin, who took Gone with the Wind away from me in the 7th grade and would not let me read it without written permission from my mother because it had the scene with Scarlett going up the stairs and it had the word damn in it. And I saw my Aunt Gail and my Uncle Bobby. My Uncle Bobby's a Baptist preacher. And my Aunt Gail's preacher's wife, and I saw the faces of all these people, you know, loomed up in front of me as I started to write this sex scene. And finally I just said, you know, I got to put on my big girl panties and try to write this. If I'm or take And that's my next point, is that you don't have to please everyone, and the plain truth of the matter is that you can't please everybody, and you shouldn't even try. So we're back to the constructive criticism thing. We have to learn to step back and be a little bit objective about our writing if we want to grow as writers. But at the same time, as artists of the craft, we have to realize that not everybody is going to like us, and we can't please everybody. It's not possible. I want you to name a writer that everybody universally loves, that nobody's ever criticized. You can't do it. You know, people said Shakespeare was a hack. I want to tell you about an experience that I had this past summer that really hammered this into me. I was invited by a member of my church to speak to a local book club there in Wetumpka. I was thrilled, and so I went, and I walked into this room full of, you know, 25 people, I guess, and I did my little spiel, and I noticed that there was just kind of a, you know, the room was kind of flat. I mean, nobody was really ugly to me. But it was just kind of flat, and I got comments like, well, you know, I will say I didn't find many typos in your book. Or, you know, you're a good writer. Why do you write this stuff? And my favorite was my neighbor across the street, who is so Southern that she makes me sound like I'm from, you know, New England. She came up to me and she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, well, I'll say one thing for you, you sure do know more about sex than I do. And I thought, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm the hoochie mama from hell. It is a painful process, and for most of us, it certainly was for me, it's a long process. And what I wish I had discovered Southern Magic earlier, because you know, it's wonderful to have somebody there to celebrate with you during the good times, but also to give you a kick in the butt when you're down from rejection. And you're going to get rejected. That's part of the process. And you should allow yourself a day to sing the I Suck song, and then you should get back on the horse, send out some more queries, write another chapter, brainstorm with somebody, figure out where you're going next. You just have to keep pushing forward, and that's why it's so important. You're doing the right thing to be right here in this group. Another question.
Did your publisher work with you? Like when they said let's do 3 books, did they say, okay, how much do you put out in so many days or a week or whatever, and then say, okay, we'll set the deadlines, or did they set the deadlines and say, hope you can keep that?
I have a fabulous editor. You know, I was up front with her and told her what my life was like. That I work full time and I have 2 daughters and busy teenager and all that kind of stuff. And she asked me how long, you know, and I said, well, I know I can write a book in a year. And she said, can you write a book in a year? I said, yeah, I can do that. And so she was fabulous, and I realized how lucky I am that most people don't get that luxury.
Depends on your schedule and your publisher, and also your agent can be the person who goes to bat going, no, that's too close, you can't possibly do it. I mean, if you don't want to have that argument with your editor, that's what you have an agent for, to do all that.
Quite understand that's true, but we know that's
If
true.
you love your job, you never work a day in your life.
Oh, that's true.
Because I'm just hanging out, man.
Well, now, so what's your word count typically? I mean, how long are your books? And then take what works for you and sift through it and get rid of it.
Now, if you I'm sorry.